Hello and welcome to the Mike Leaf Show here on the Warrior Sports Network. Grant Wall joined, as always, by Winona State head basketball coach Mike Leaf. And Coach, it's been a while since we last sat down and talked, had some time off for the holidays, a really condensed period of 4 games in 7 days, but a period where your team played very, very well. A loss at Northern State after the new year, but good wins on the road at Mary, and then 2 physical wins here last weekend against Concordia St. Paul and St. Cloud State. We're now about halfway through the year. As you sit here and look at this team, what are your thoughts right now about the way your team's playing?
Well, I think some of the things that are really important for me is, number one, having that break was tremendous for us, and the NCAA. Make sure that you have a certain amount of days off just before Christmas. And it's nice to get that. I think it's important to get your players home to be with family, etc. And you got some nicks, some bruises here and there, and you want to get them all healed up. So it's nice to have that break time. Currently, right now, I think we're playing some strong basketball. I think we're really starting to gel a little bit more each and every game, where we know where people are on the floor. We know when we need to get the ball to, say, a John Wahlberg when he's open for a 3, or get the ball inside to Clayton or any one of our bigs. But just working together, and I think we're still improving game to game. It was a long trip, when we went to Marion, Northern State, and unfortunately we had to split that weekend. But people don't realize how difficult it is on the road, and but I thought we handled it pretty well. We got to come home and play 2 tremendous teams, and I think one of the more talented teams in Concordia St. Paul. What athletes they have. Yeah. And of course St. Cloud, which is one of the top teams every single year in our conference. So we had 2 great wins there, and now we head on the road. But physically, so far we've been healthy. We want to keep fresh. We want to keep our bodies fresh, mentally fresh, and shorten our practices and really get to the core on what we're going to go up against each weekend.
It seems like each game it's another guy stepping up. One night it might be Clayton. Grant Johnson steps up and has a huge game, 28 points against St. Cloud. Zander Culver comes off the bench in that same game and has some really, really key minutes in the first half. CJ has had a couple great games. John Wahlberg's shooting the ball well. It just seems like there's a bunch of different guys. Almost each game, take your pick. Who's the guy that's going to come up and really come up big for your team?
Yeah, we're doing a scouting report for this weekend, and we've got certain guys that we're targeting, strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's part of our team chemistry, is that we've got, yes, we've got some weaknesses, but a lot of strengths. And so they can sit there and take away the shooting of John Wahlberg out on that 3-point area. And I think a lot of teams, it's obvious they're focusing on Clayton Vetty inside. And, he's getting double teamed. We've seen triple teams. And darn well that on their whiteboard or in their scouting report, Vetty's name is across it. So, he's drawing a lot of attention, and he's done a nice job handling it. He gets a little frustrated, and you can kind of see that on the floor, but he's learning and he's getting through it. But it opens up so many other players, and C.J. Erickson can step up, and Kellen Taylor steps up. And just like you said, what great games out of Grant Johnson and out of Zander Culver. They were just, they were tough. And Zander, he's like a little water bug out there, but man, when he went up and down that floor, whew, he's tough to chase. And guys are stepping up and doing those types of things, and not just those first 5 or 6, but those that are coming off the bench. So we're getting some great depth out there on the floor, and we're not losing anything.
Going back to Clayton really fast, you talked about earlier this year, talked about how much he's improved over the summer. One thing from my vantage point that I've seen him get better at is passing out of those double teams, and you mentioned he's getting doubled, even tripled sometimes down there on the block, but he is able to really find some guys. He had a great pass underneath the basket, I think, to CJ early in the game against St. Cloud. It was just a really crisp, pretty pass. He's doing very well at getting the ball out when it needs to go to those scorers out there on the wing.
Yeah, and receiving it, CJ, they always, most teams so far are taking their 4-man and going with the double, and that happens to be CJ's man. And CJ's done a nice job finding that open area there, getting to the basket. And he and Clayton have worked on that and done a nice job. But with Clayton right now, we haven't seen his best ball yet. That's the thing, is that he got injured just before Christmas and didn't play in the Mankato game. Had that week where our guys still had to work out on their own at home, but he was unable to do it because of his knee. But you take a guy and give him 8 days and he doesn't work out, that you're going to get out of shape. So he's getting himself back in there, and we've absolutely had to substitute for him a little bit more. But he's just getting back into shape, and his best ball is yet to come. So people are going to definitely focus on him. But like you said, with that depth and with those guys out there, they've done a nice job handling it.
Well, let's go back to last weekend. Wins over Concordia St. Paul and St. Cloud State here in McCowan Gymnasium. Nice home wins, but those were two extremely physical ball games, especially down low. And as a team, 22 of your last 26 points against St. Cloud came at the free throw line. Grant Johnson had 13 free throws. He had just a spectacular game. But when the pressure was on, when you had to go to the line and hit some of those foul shots, the guys came through, and that had to be very encouraging for you.
Yeah, especially when we were out at Northern State, I think we made every other one. I mean, we were just terrible out there, and you have to understand how critical every possession is. And every time you step to that line, that's why they call it a free throw. Let's knock them down, and we've worked on that, and we put ourselves in some pressure situations in practice, and they've stepped to the line, and those were some big free throws for us, no question, and most of them, like you said, came from Grant Johnson. And he's a heads-up kid, and they were trying to double team on the ball, and they were forcing us to go to that line because there was that 10-12 point lead, and they wanted to lengthen the game, which is smart on their part. But our guys did step to that line and knock them down. And then offensively, some people ask, how come you got so many more fouls after you? Well, offensively, we had the lead, we spread it out, and we didn't need to foul. We were just playing good straight-up defense.
Yep. Well, it was two great wins. You're at 13th in the nation now. The regional rankings are going to be coming out soon as you start to kind of jockey for position down the stretch. What's the thing in practice this week that you're going to be telling the guys? And we'll cover your two opponents here in a little bit, but what's the one thing that you're telling those guys this week in practice?
The big thing right now is that we're at the point where we're starting a new semester in school, which is extremely important, and they all know it. They actually get competitive in the classroom as well. But you go into class, and there's a lot of things that are going on in your lives right now, and so you got to make sure you stay healthy. Get your rest. And there's a lot of them that love that 8-9 hours of sleep. Yep. The older you get, you don't get those anymore.
No.
I'm used to my 5 or 6, but I wish 6.
Yeah.
But no, literally, get your 8 or 9 hours in there. So go to bed, and get that rest. They all love your Gatorades and Powerades, and we encourage. Drink a lot of those liquids and stay healthy. We've got a fluctuation in our temperatures right now, and we've had some sickness in December, and I don't want that to happen again. So we're focused on our games ahead, shorten practices, stay fresh, stay mentally fresh, and there's some guys that haven't been into a position like this before, and they just have to understand is that you don't look down the line. You don't. You got a Crookston game coming up. That's what we're focusing on right now, and keep the game simple. And listen to what our coaching staff has to say. We've all been there before, and learn from each other. And the big thing though is to stay fresh and focused.
We'll get to Crookston and Moorhead here in just a quick minute. But next on the Mike Leaf Show, Zander Culver is going to sit down with me, and he's going to talk a little bit about what the Warriors have been able to do so far this season that has put them in the position they are today.
Are you looking for great off-campus housing? Great River Management and Sales has a large selection of houses and apartments representing many of Winona's property owners. Owners and renters rely on Great River Management. Stop by the Great River Boat at Main and Broadway and see what we can do for you.
Financial startophobia. Fear of financial endeavors causing putting off till the day after tomorrow that which should have been done the day before yesterday.
If you have financial startophobia, I would recommend Merchants Bank. I had a little touch of financial startophobia, had a good recommendation, I went to the bank and had a great experience. Merchants Bank has personal service. I'm not afraid of anything. They've been around for over 130 years. You know who you're dealing with. Merchants Bank, the bank that service built.
And welcome back to the Mike Leaf Show. I'm joined now by Warrior Junior Guard Zander Culver. And Zander, we've talked to Coach Leaf about some of the things you guys have been doing well. you're getting a lot of minutes, coming in, playing with some of the first unit, and then kind of shepherding some of those guys who come in off the bench with you. What have you seen on the floor that's allowed you guys to be so successful in this first half of the year?
Well, I just think we worked real well together as a team. You know, it's not one guy who teams can focus on, and they can be like, oh, if we stop this guy, you know, then they're gonna, you know, shut down on offense. You know, we have a variety of weapons, and so we just work together as a team, and we know each other's strengths and weaknesses real well, and we try to, you know, work on that. And so I think, you know, just the unity we have makes us, you know, tough matchups for a team.
It seems like each night a different guy is stepping up and making a couple plays, and that was you on Sunday against St. Cloud, especially in the first half. You know, made a couple nice passes, got to the basket a couple times. I mean, talk about the balance that this has. You know, if it's not one guy one night, it's going to be somebody else the next night. Just so many different things that this team can do.
Right. Yeah. Well, the coaches have really done a good job of just getting guys who can do a lot of different things. I mean, you got John Wahlberg, who one of the best shooters I've ever, you know, seen. You know, I got a great opportunity to play with them, and then you have Vetty, you know, just a force on the inside. And you know, so you get Vetty the ball down low, so teams might want to double off him, but then you got to worry about Wahlberg knocking down a three, or, you know, Xavier Humphrey, and, you know, Grant's ability to score. Just everybody brings something different, and you really can't focus on one guy. You know, teams can double Vetty, but then, you know, you got to worry about him kicking it out and somebody knocking down a three.
This year, you've seen your minutes go up a little bit as compared to last year. What did you work on in the off season to get you primed and ready to go?
I worked on a lot of ball handling, did a lot of shooting, just trying to improve on everything. You know, I don't think it's one thing that I think I focused on this summer. Just working hard. I did do a lot of ball handling because that's something I have to rely on, being a smaller guard. And also wanted to get in the weight room because that's one of the most important aspects of the game at the college level, just strength. So just those things.
As we look forward this weekend, going on the road, Minnesota Crookston on Friday night, then going up to MSU Moorhead on Saturday. Moorhead, a team that's 8-1, the same league record that you guys have. So, you know, this one, the winner of that game has a good chance of having the solo lead in the conference, depending on how things go on Friday night for both of you. What has Moorhead been able to do so far this year that has got them off to such a great start?
Well, I haven't seen any film on Moorhead, and we just went over it for the first time today. But just from what I know in the past and what I've heard, they got two big, you know, large guys in the middle, and they got a lot of quick guards, and they run you off those ball screens, and they can tire you out and get to the basket. And, you know, I guess they're big guys already, you know, rebounding the ball well. And I think they're just spreading teams out and, you know, getting to the basket.
Speaking of being tired out, you guys just finished a stretch of 4 games in 7 days, kind of the way the holidays fell. The NSIC had to condense a couple weekends worth of games. So you go 4 games in 7 days. Did you have to do anything different, or what was it like preparing for those with so little time in between the 2 series?
Well, like you said, we just had to condense everything. You know, maybe instead of 2 or 3 days on one team, we can only spend 1 day, or, you know, half practice on this team, half practice on the another team. The biggest thing that coaches want us to worry about is being in shape, because, you know, you get a week, go home for the holidays, and, you know, you got mama's good food and desserts on the table.
Yep.
You know, you're going to tear those up and then come back with a little stomach, and the next thing you know, you got to play in the day. So that was the biggest thing, just staying in shape. And, you know, about basketball, you got to know your teams well, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to play the game. So.
And it seemed like you were in shape. It didn't look like too much of a hangover when you were playing those last 2 games of that 4-game stretch, beating Concordia St. Paul and St. Cloud State here in McCown Gymnasium. 2 very, very physical games.
Right.
What was the thing that you guys as a team could take away from those 2 victories?
Just knowing, being confident in our teammates. Like I said, it's somebody different stepping up every game. You know, somebody could have scoreless, you know, and then the next game they have 20 here, you know. So that's just the one thing we took away. And then also, I think those are probably our 2 toughest games physically, you know, or at least 2 of the toughest, you know, most physical games we've had. And we took away, you know, we can bang with these teams. You know, sometimes we get out-rebounded, and, you know, coaches on us about that. But I think those 2 games really showed that, you know, we can hang with the physical teams. We're not just off finesse. We're not just knocking down 3-pointers. You know, we want to get in there and be physical as well.
Well, very good. Thank you very much for joining us, Zander. We'll be back with Coach Leaf one last time here on the Mike Leaf Show.
Financial startophobia. Fear of financial endeavors causing putting off till the day after tomorrow that which should have been done the day before yesterday.
If you have financial startophobia, I would recommend Merchants Bank. I had a little touch of financial startophobia, had a good recommendation, and went to the bank and had a great experience. Merchants Bank has personal service. I'm not afraid of anything. They've been around for over 130 years. You know who you're dealing with. Merchants Bank, the bank that's service-built.
Are you looking for great off-campus housing? Great River Management and Sales has a large selection of houses and apartments representing many of Winona's property owners. Owners and renters rely on Great River Management. Stop by the Great River Boat at Main and Broadway and see what we can do for you.
And welcome back to the Mike Leaf Show. Two opponents on the road this weekend. Go to Minnesota Crookston on Friday, MSU Moorhead Saturday. Two very important games, especially that Saturday night game against a Moorhead team that's been playing extremely well this year.
You bet. And they practice today. You know, you got Crookston coming up, and they're a team that has had some great games and could have upset some people. Hey, they upset us last year at their place. And believe me, our guys don't forget that. So I don't think there's a whole lot of motivation that has to go into any game. They understand that anything can happen. Hey, we lost to Northern State. We shouldn't have let that happen. We shouldn't have been in that position. They understand that. There are tough games that are coming up, and you can't look by anybody. And it's hard to teach that, but I think game by game they realize it when they look across the entire country at the upsets that happen every single day. So, you know, Crookston's got a great team. They really do, and they can do a lot of good things for themselves at home. The travel wears on you, so that's a main focus. The Moorhead squad that is extremely talented. Yes. A lot of great three-point shooters that are there. They got two bigs inside. That one in particular, that I mean, he's a big boy, and you know, they've got great chemistry there. And yes, they went on a great run, and they had a great run on a team that beat us last year as well. So you know, those two are really important games, and like I said, can't surpass or look past Crookston. That's our first on the agenda, and then of course Moorhead on Saturday.
Moorhead, they're 8-1 in the league, same record as you. You're tied atop the league standings. So the winner of that game on Saturday night is going to have a leg up in the conference race as we head down the stretch. What has Moorhead been able to do this year that's got them off to such a quick start and allowed them to be so successful so far in league play?
Well, I think they really utilize their guard play is very good. And like I said, a lot of the teams in our league utilize the ball screen and they spread everybody else out. And so they're taking their bigs and they're coming up there, they're setting that screen and they're forcing a Clayton Vetty, for instance, to play solid defense out on that perimeter. And what does that do to him? You know, he's got to move laterally, he's got to work that much harder than when he's just down in the block area, and it takes its toll. And you know, that's the same type of philosophy that we have. We're going to bring their bigs out. I think the advantage we have against a lot of the teams in our league is that we've got good athletes inside that they run up and down the floor extremely quick. So we're not only going to bring you outside that block area, we're also going to run you up and down the floor, and hope that takes its toll over that 40-minute time period. So that's what Moorhead likes to do. They're a good defensive team. When they play at home, they're really tough, and you know, their coaches do a tremendous job getting them ready for games, and they've had some close calls. But they've been able to prevail those close games. So that's a real part of it as you're growing as a team, is to win close ball games, and they're doing it. So they're talented at both ends of the floor, and they utilize that talent. And again, they've got great coaches.
As we approach the midpoint of January, the conference race is starting to ramp up. We're kind of starting to see who those teams are going to be at the top. Obviously, the Warriors, Moorhead, St. Cloud, a team that we beat on Sunday, was tied for the league or the lead in the conference going into that game, and so there's kind of starting to get a clearer picture of what the top of this league is going to look like as we go down the stretch. What do you have to do to make sure that you remain in that picture the rest of the way?
Well, it's really studying your opponent and staying focused. And you know, I learned this a long time ago, is that I think a lot of teams focus too much on their opponent and they forget about themselves. And that's a thing that's really important. And that's why they call them fundamentals. We got to be the team that makes the fewest mistakes, that we don't miss that block out. It's a simple thing to do, that we don't miss getting a hand up to contest a shot. If it's not up there, maybe that guy's going to knock it down, but if we're forcing him to take a little more difficult shot, it may make a difference. So those fundamentals, if we're swinging the basketball and we're getting it to John Wahlberg, there's such great defenders in our league that let's pass it to him so that when he's catching it, he's in a rhythm to take that shot. It can't be over here. It can't be down by his ankles. Let's do those little things on our part to make a difference. And that, I think, has to be a great focus. And so we not only look at our opponents, we see a lot of the same things from game to game. Hey, we're going to see double screens. We're going to see single screens. We're going to see ball screens. We've seen it all. So it's just a matter of knowing the personnel and what their strengths are, and we got to try and take that away. But then we have to do our thing out on the floor, and we have to focus on that. And I think that is a real key for a team that wants to do some great things.
It's going to be a fun weekend. Again, Crookston on Friday night, Moorhead Saturday, and then the following weekend, the Warriors will be back here in McCowan Gymnasium. That's all the time we have today. For Coach Lee, for Corey behind the camera, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.